This week on The Handle, it's our election special as Karen Welch interviews candidates for Amarillo Mayor and City Council. Learn about the major issues before you head to the ballot box. All of this right now on Panhandle PBS.
Hello and welcome to The Handle. I'm Karen Welch. Election time has come again for the City of Amarillo, Amarillo Independent School District, and Amarillo College, as well as other local governments across the Texas Panhandle. On this episode, you'll see excerpts from interviews with 10 candidates for mayor and Amarillo City Council. 14 candidates actually will be listed on your city ballot. However, 4 challengers declined Panhandle PBS interviews. They are Kip Billups, a candidate for mayor, Jay Kirkman, who is running for City Council Place 1, Treva Harper, who is seeking the Council Place 4 seat, and Tom Warren II, a candidate for City Council Place 3. Unedited start-to-finish versions of the entire interviews with city candidates are available for viewing now. You can find them at panhandlepbs.org, our YouTube channel, and our Facebook page. On April 7th, Place 1 candidate Richard Herman posted on his personal Facebook page that he is endorsing one of his opponents, Hayden Pedigo. However, at the time of this recording, he has not made the same post on his campaign Facebook page, nor has he filed a withdrawal request with the city secretary. The last day to withdraw a name from the ballot was February 22nd. Because Herman's name will still be on Amarillo ballots, we have left his remarks in this episode and included his full interview online. While you're online, check out the interviews my colleague Chip Chandler conducted with candidates for the AISD Board of Trustees and AC Board of Regents. So, let's begin.
I feel like there's a massive gray area in job development between food service industry type jobs that make up almost 10% of Amarillo's jobs and places like employers like Pantex, which neither of those jobs are inherently bad. There's nothing wrong with them. But I feel like there's this massive gray area in the middle for people my age where they're not exactly sure where do I go career-wise if I don't have a college degree. I would love to see Amarillo become the wind energy capital of America and have a cheap form of education where younger people can learn to fill these jobs and start moving forward. Because I think we have a massive youth population, but I don't think Amarillo has ever gone full on trying to understand the wants and needs of them and how to harness them. Because I've seen too many people my age, a lot of really bright minds leave for bigger cities, and we lose a lot of talent to bigger job markets. And I want to keep those people here. I would love to see the push for that, because I don't think there's anything wrong with getting your bachelor's or master's, but for me, I didn't go to college. It wasn't for me, and I immediately started working. So everyone has different interests in certain things.
Well, for me personally, one of the initiatives is expanding the By the Way program. And our first year of outreach was really what I call level 1 engagement. And that was just educating our citizens on how our general fund receives revenues, how sales tax collections impact our ability to provide services. If you're spending dollars anyway, if you redirect towards shopping locally, it helps us as a city provide services. I would like to see that expanded now to second level of engagement. That is going to be operating and interacting with our local employers and our local businesses, that on a business level, are we, whenever possible, making purchases here as well? Are they looking for local vendors? And many of them are. They are already taking a leadership role, and we would like an opportunity and a way to make that more public, to let our community know these are some leader businesses in our community.
Some people call it a strength here in Amarillo that we have a low unemployment rate. I don't. Because if you look at the poverty level, we have a lot of people working for low wages and everything. That still don't put food on the table consistently, pay your bills consistently. That's one of the things that I think that I can bring to the table that others maybe haven't done such a good job with, and that's to attract businesses that provide better pay, better retirements, better insurance, stuff like that. I know we have the AEDC and all that stuff, but I just don't feel like they're getting it done. And before you can set out to, I call it romancing them type of businesses, you need to know what your good points are. You know, do we have a well-educated workforce for that type of business? Do we have good schools for these type of people? Are we going to look at technology? Is that something we want to go into?
The Civic Center is very important to me, and I think a lot of our citizens just didn't realize that the way the projects, the order that the projects were going in, such as, you know, building a multi-purpose event venue, baseball stadium, looking at the parking garage, then looking at the convention hotel. You know, I had a lot of people that said, hey, we don't need a ballpark, we don't need a hotel, but if you're going to attract the younger generations, companies, corporations, if you want a better quality of life for our younger generations, these are the things, some of the things that we're going to have to do and continue to do. Now is the right time, in my mind, for us to be looking at the Civic Center project to see what can we do to update it, renovate it.
I was listening to the mayor and council discuss the property tax cap, and, you know, Mayor Nelson referred to it as an inequality issue. Other cities have kept their property taxes down here low. However, Amarillo has not. Here's the ceiling, here's Amarillo. And so that was concerning to me because, you know, our property taxes have already skyrocketed, and to not have any voter approval there just leaves the door wide open. I mean, to raise them astronomically, I mean, even further than they already are. And that's a burden. That's a burden on the taxpayers. So it was concerning to me. So when I found that out and I was listening to her talk, she said she had made a trip to Austin the day prior to speak with them about this inequality issue. That was concerning to me. I decided that the next day I was going to hop on a plane that next week and head to Austin. And I can tell you I have not met one single person in this city yet that has told me they are against the tax cap.
And I myself am not against a tax cap, but the way that I understand it, first of all, you said our tax rate is up here and other cities have kept it low. We have one of the lowest tax rates, property tax rates in the state.
Well, they keep preaching that, but let's talk about your overall bill, what you write a check for.
Yes, but your overall bill includes Potter County or Randall County and school district, and those are actually the largest portions of your property tax bill. So why would it be on the city to make sure that your overall tax bill is low?
Well, I'm not saying that it's on the city, but if there's not a cap there, then that leaves the door wide open for them just to raise it however high they want.
There is a cap right now at 8%.
Right, I understand that, but do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
I mean, it's not allowing the voters to make the decision, and I mean, it is our tax dollars, so we should be able to decide.
First, I testified on the bill. I did not testify against the bill because I am in favor of property tax reform. I do believe that we need to make sure that our voters aren't carrying more than their fair share as far as property tax is concerned. And when you metric it out, and I have done a lot of studying on Amarillo's actual numbers, you can see that property taxes have gone up tremendously over the past decade. A lot of it is driven by the cost of our schools. Amarillo city tax has increased about 2%, so it's not a large percentage there. Part of the reason why it's so important for Amarillo to be in that conversation is because we have the lowest tax rate of any large city in the state of Texas, by far. Lubbock is at 55 cents per $100 value. We're at 38 cents. So almost a 20-cent gap between Amarillo and Lubbock. We know how to keep our property tax values low. And so Amarillo needs to be at the table down in Austin giving our input to our state legislators. They need to hear from us that our public safety makes up a tremendous amount of that general fund budget. And those are costs that are salaried, tied to health insurance, tied to equipment and technology increases. Those costs are sometimes hard to control. I know our revenue needs are going to be right around 3% for the next 5 years. If our sales tax continues to grow, it'll cover that and we'll be just fine. If it doesn't, then we have to look at cutting services in order to stay under that 2.5 cap.
I am for single-member districts. I think that, I know there's some negative to it. I think the city is at a size now that we need people representing every area of town. We do have areas that our current council, they know of those areas, they know what's going on there. And I don't want to say that they're not sensitive to the issues that are faced in those areas, but there isn't anybody that's living in those areas to represent them.
It's a measure that has failed twice before in previous elections, so what would you do to educate voters on?
I think just educating them, getting the word out there and explaining what the benefits to it are, and as well as explaining what the negatives to it are. Part of the issue is the people that should be voting for it aren't voting. And that's something that we need to do, is get them out to vote, get them more energized and involved in their community.
I like at large because that means that I'm representing the entire city. My problem with single member districts there is this propensity towards that's my district, and if you give me this, I'll give you that. That's the only thing I would say about that. Here's going to be the big deal. The biggest deal on this is really not going to be, do we want single member districts? The big deal on this is going to be, is our city council actually big enough to handle? Do we need more than 5 members on city council? I think the easy answer to that part of it is probably yes, we do. So the second that we choose to change the charter to add members, we automatically invoke the fact that we will have to have single member districts. I envision something kind of like Lubbock City Council. They've got a hybrid. They've got 4 member districts. They've got 3 at large and the mayor's at large. That's 7. And so I could see something like that end up happening. I don't think there's a city even close to our size, especially larger, that only has 5.
The Thompson Park pool is a travesty. I went to the meetings. I understand that a consulting agency came in and said that pool was unsafe. I'm not quite sure in the budget where the money comes from. I know they say we've only got, and again, I think they said like $150,000 for the Parks and Rec, which a new pool would cost at least $3 million, let's say at least. People are talking about bonds, and I know there's Parks and Rec bonds and things like that. And I'm not an expert. I would look to experts to see. We found the money to find a consulting agency to take away services. I feel like we could find a consulting agency or people within our agency to find a plan of action to keep this pool open, or at very least have a plan in place to reopen a new pool.
Well, evidently it was like 87 years old or something like that. So it was long overdue. maybe the city was not proper in preparing for that. But when a leak occurred, inspections were done, and there were electrical problems, and you get electricity and water, it wasn't a safe deal. It needed to be closed. But the council said we got to replace it. And so plans are being made to do that as soon as that can happen. It can't be by this summer. There's no way this summer. But it needs to be replaced. It was I don't remember the numbers, but a lot of people went there and used that pool. It's only open for like 90 days or something during the summer.
Well, Karen, my take is I just try to, everything that I do, I try to use just common sense, and I take city government very seriously. I mean, the citizens elected me to serve and to get in there and get the work done for the city. And so what I want to do is just be courteous and follow the rules of decorum. So, you know, right now I'm in Karen's house, and so I'm going to abide by her rules, you know, and whatever the decorum is. And that's what I would expect from anyone. I mean, if I go to your home personally and there's certain rules, you know, I mean, I want to be sure that I follow those. In other words, what I'm saying is the disruption and the distraction, I mean, I really don't need that, and especially during public comment. So I just want to be respectful of others.
What we want at our public meeting is an environment where everyone feels respected to come and give their comments. Occasionally, we don't allow booing because that would be intimidating and disrespectful. Sometimes clapping has that same effect. It's intimidating, and it disrespects someone who's brought a different opinion in the room. And so our attempt was to just eliminate all of that noise making so that no one would be intimidated to come and give their idea at the podium. We want people to be able to come and give their opinions, and we want them to do it without feeling intimidated or disrespected.
It seemed like they were trying to criminalize homelessness. And again, now I know they have a program in place. Amarillo Housing First is a part of, and honestly, that's what I would have started with. Would have been, again, a service trying to do everything in our power to house as many people as we could safely and you know, with their consent. Safety, human safety. I mean, especially for homeless people, they need health care. They need running water. They need toilets, toilet paper. And yes, if it's unsafe for them, you know, you can't do that. There has to be rules. I've often said, you know, that they should just ordain or, you know, give an ordinance lending them space to do their how they do it in their camp, because there's a lot of people that won't stay in houses.
Well, essentially the thing I'll say first is the one problem I feel like with the homeless issue in Amarillo is it originally should have been dealt with as a human issue, not a cosmetic issue, which I feel like that's somewhat where it leaned on. I can understand them viewing it from a cosmetic issue, going, it makes our city look bad and it's an eyesore and we need to get it moving, which I recently saw an article Texas Observer came out with 2 weeks ago, I believe, that said Amarillo has decided to help the homeless instead of fight them with a Housing First program, which I'm all for. But my only problem was I feel like this has been a discussion and a fight that's been going on years previous. So why is it only now just being addressed? I'm all for Housing First programs, and especially looking at cities that have had more progressive approaches and successes, reaching out and seeing how can we mimic what you're doing. If you've had success, how can we bring it here? And also even people that have more of a tighter relationship to Amarillo's homeless community, accessing their pool of knowledge, because they'll understand it better than someone like I could if they're more on ground level and know these people and know what they need to get the help they do, and that's kind of my perspective on it, where I would like to see it go.
Those allegations include 3 city councilors attending, which would be a quorum, attending an Amarillo Economic Development Committee corporation meeting, and also, for example, the council declaring a public hearing closed and not taking public comment. Explain why you brought the suit.
Well, I mean, I think kind of what you said summarizes it, but I think that I should probably not comment on that, considering it's pending litigation. There are some things, you know, I'm willing to say, but I don't want to go into the details of the facts of the case because it's pending right now. So I think it's best we just not talk about that.
I think most of the issues that have been brought up have been a misunderstanding of what open meetings laws are, and sometimes what the definition of a closed meeting is. When you say a public hearing has closed, which means that we're meeting in public, it has been posted, everyone has had a chance, but then that part of our work session has closed for any additional comments, that's not a closed meeting. And so that was, you know, I think sometimes just the definition of what does and does not constitute an open meetings violation is part of the issue behind that particular filing.
We have to be absolutely, completely transparent. One of those, like the one at the AEDC meeting, you know what, that was like either the first or the second week after the elections. We had not had Open Meetings Act orientation at all. The meeting's posted, it's an AEDC meeting, I'm gonna go show up. I didn't know that we had walked into something that we weren't supposed to do. The second that we were told, that I was told, as far as I knew, I just needed to be in a completely different part of the room and I couldn't talk to anybody. So I was completely in a different part of the room from anybody else, sat back in the back, just listened, got up and left.
That suit claims that Amarillo and the Economic Development Corporation engaged in an unlawful land swap with Coca-Cola Company, and that the transaction should have been put before the voters.
The purpose of the injunction was to halt the expenditure before it occurred. They had barely broken ground and had not even started putting concrete down whenever I filed this in August of last year. And so it's taken this long and I still have yet to get a hearing. It's pretty clear that the corruption runs deep and that they're dragging it out. So at the end of the day, it's going to be built. I think at that point I can just hope for the best and hope for the taxpayers' sake that it all works out and it's successful.
By criminal acts, you're talking about not putting that before the voters?
Like I said, it's pending litigation right now, so I'm not going to discuss the facts of the case. You know, it's speculation at this point, mere speculation, but I do believe personally that there is corruption that runs through the district courts here in Amarillo.
If you become mayor, would you drop those lawsuits, or how would you approach the multi-purpose event venue?
Well, I definitely wouldn't drop the lawsuits. Like I said, my ultimate goal is to hold someone or someone's accountable for the actions that have been taken in regards to the, it being illegal.
The suit is against the city, though. How would you be mayor of Amarillo?
Well,
and
I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But I don't know that there is anything illegal per se about having a lawsuit against that. Now, if there was something that needed to be voted on by the council, clearly I would have to abstain from that vote. But I don't see any reason to drop it just because I would become mayor.
There's no requirement for a victim to report that.
There's no requirement?
Nope.
But
now, if you witnessed
you're an
it,
officer of the court, shouldn't there be?
Doesn't the law apply to? Don't the same laws apply to a policeman that applies to a normal citizen? That's all I got to say about that.
Do you not see something kind of a disparate.
I believe I made a bad choice that night, if that's what you're driving at, okay? But you can't turn back the clock. You just got to learn to move forward. People that live in the past stay in the past. I'm not that guy. I'd rather fall forward than step back.
When it was at 5, people couldn't get there. They couldn't get off work in time to get there. It's at 1. 7 was a bad idea, 7 a.m. So we dropped that idea. But another part of it is when it was at 5, there were a lot of staff people. Some of them are salaried, some of them are hourly. So they're like weekly. When you have a meeting weekly, they're asked to stay through the meeting. And we needed not only the top administrators, but other people on the staff to hear what communication is done and the comments that the council makes.
Okay.
So it's a tough issue. We could, if you talk to the people that complain, what time would they want it? And then how many people would want it then? And there'd be a lot that wouldn't want it then.
I can't even make it to the meetings right now because of my schedule. And, you know, again, I think holding occasional town hall meetings, you know, either as a council or separately, just to hear people. And that's something that we need to do more effectively, because these are our residents and they're going to tell us what they want and what they don't want. And we can avoid these backlashes if we are at least listening, acknowledging. We may not do what they want every single time, but at least we know what they want. They know that we know what they want, and we can move forward from there.
And now a reminder, complete interviews with the 10 Amarillo mayor and city council candidates who participated in our interviews will be on our website, panhandlepbs.org, and our social media. You'll also find interviews with candidates for the Amarillo ISD Board of Trustees and the Amarillo College Board of Regents. Thank you for joining us and for supporting Panhandle PBS.